uploaded and all that stuff. So,
yep, should be good to
go.
Right,
cool. So, looks like our connections are good.
As we get started, hang on. Jordan, Chuck, is that how Jordan's going to look in the full tiled view? I only got half his face on my screen.
I can see his full face. Can you center
right,
yourself up a little more?
It keeps slowly moving down. I'm going to have to place something underneath it.
All right, guys.
Let's
have a good show here.
Good show here.
All right. And 3, 2.
2.
Oh, we got an echo. Echo. I think it went away. All right. And 3, 2. No, I heard it again. Are you guys hearing that? All right, check. All right, that did it. And 3, 2.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
Hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to another episode of Diecast Breakdown. I am so glad you're with us today, and I want to give a special shout out, of course, to our executive producer level patrons that help make the show go, along with the rest of our patrons. That would be Reviews Through Another Lens, Mike's Mods and Customs, Mad Visions, Video Geek Productions, First and 64th Customs, TWYCE Diecast, thank you, David, DrivenDreams.org, Dane Self, and our brand new executive producer level patron, Jason. Thank you, Jason, whoever you are. I have a feeling I know who you are, but it just said Jason, so I'm just going to say thank you, Jason, for being our latest patron, especially at the executive producer level. You can support us with as little as $3 a month, and that really helps keep the lights on over here, and all new patrons get a shout out when they join. So if you want to know more about supporting the show, you can visit diecastbreakdown.com and click on that little link or the join button down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe while you're down there looking at all those buttons. And while you're hitting those buttons, I'm going to introduce my co-hosts tonight. Mr. David Johns, how the heck are you doing?
I'm good, man. I think we're going to learn something tonight, Chuck.
I know, we got a customs guest, and I'm excited about that. And I am joined by our special guest co-host, Derek, a.k.a. Honest Diecast. Derek, how are you tonight?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for bringing me back. Always appreciate it.
Well, we are delighted to have you here, and we are having this guest tonight because of Derek's recommendation. It's a new one to me, but I'm already seeing some stuff on his site that I'm excited to be adding to my collection. And I am talking, of course, about Mr. Jordan Buckley of Jay's Custom Garage. Jordan, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Derek, for the recommendation. Appreciate it.
Well, I am excited because I'm a customizer. The co-hosts are also customizers, but when we have customizers on, we're always looking for tips and tricks and ideas, and I'm feeling that we're going to get some good ones from you tonight, Jordan. So let's get started from the beginning. What is Jay's Custom Garage?
Basically, my customs name I started with. I do customs with 1/64 Hot Wheels, some mini GTs, some other stuff. Started getting into decals and really just trying to basically build a brand around it. Have a name.
When did you first start customizing?
Probably going on, I think, 2 years now. 2.5 years.
Okay, so it's a relatively new thing for you. Well, that's really cool. When did you first really discover people were customizing diecasts? I know for me, I didn't discover it until really a few years ago either. I had been building models, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, people are customizing 1/64 scale cars too. Where did you find out about it?
Keep it short. Got into diecast because of my son. I'm huge into Volkswagens and Porsches, so I found this T1 in Publix one day. And I was like, I'm going to collect all the Volkswagens. It's been in my family for years. And got into that, got onto Facebook. That was a rabbit hole. And then got into buying and seeing the prices of some of this stuff. And I thought, I have the money to support it, but I would like a little hobby income. So I was trying to find a way to do something. And I saw a post one day of a guy posted a custom and was like, hey, I customized this car. I painted it, put decals, plus shipping. And I was like, $45 for a custom Hot Wheel? There's no way people are buying this stuff. And I went and read the comments, and I was like, well, if people like buying custom Hot Wheels, I mean, I painted for 5 years, a couple years back, and automotive in the industry. And so I knew how to paint, I knew how to clear coat, just the decals and the tininess of the car was new. So I just had to figure all that out. But the painting I knew how to do. So I was like, I know how to paint. So started trying it out, and here I am 2.5, 3 years later.
So how many customs? How many customs do you think you've done so far?
Ooh, I want to say more than maybe 400.
Yeah, that's plenty of
I'd
learning
probably,
curve
I'd
right
probably
there.
want to say.
So that is a lot of customs out there.
Including auctions, and yeah, it's including auctions. I used to do commissions. I dab into them every now and then, depending on the person. Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that number. Out of the 400, I think I have 2 of my own.
Yeah. That's pretty good turnover. When you start to look at, hey, I think I can maybe sell some of this. It's usually surprising when somebody, especially like an artist, and we're at some degree, we're all artists, but like for your art being custom Hot Wheels, was it surprising to you to hear the reasons why people wanted certain customs and like why it was important to give it as a gift to somebody? Can you talk about maybe some of the more special customs or reasons that you've been asked to do for people?
I've done, like I said, I started with commissions, and then it got to a level of like, hey, I had this on my car, I had this. No, I want it this way.
Yeah.
So I kind of dabbed out of it recently. No, not recently. A few times people will reach out to me and say, hey, this situation, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if the person wants me to say what happened. But anyway, the most recent one I did was they sent me, I think it was the Matchbox ambulance.
Yeah.
And the person's mom had passed away, and she was the chief of that ambulance or something, operated it for years. And he's like, no, I know you don't do commissions, but I'd really appreciate it if you could have like these decals made that matched her ambulance and stuff like that. And me knowing some of the people really hits hard. And so for him, I was just like, hey man, I'll cover my time and the paint and the materials. Just if you cover the decals and stuff, will be good.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and make it for you, man. I don't want no money for it. Don't send me nothing. I've gotten a few of those. Those mean a lot to me, just because I know it's something that they'll keep in their collection. As far
100%.
as some other people, it's like, hey man, this is my favorite car, and it's somebody I know, and I'm like, hey man, I'll make it for you. But some of the more personal ones, they mean a little bit more than just me making a custom, and people are like, hey man, I really like it, and then they go ahead and purchase it.
Yep.
As compared to one of those, I know it's like, hey, this is going to stick with this man forever.
Yeah.
Or woman, whichever one.
Back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors. Legendary Hollywood concept artist and designer Fireball Tim Lawrence has created 3 exclusive pieces of automotive art based on the 3 hosts of Diecast Breakdown. Get these and other brilliant designs printed on mugs and more at fireballtimgarage.art today. Here's this week's small channel shoutout.
The Diecast Stop.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
Yeah, we talk about that on our show, and then I'll turn it over to Derek. But we talk about, usually there's a story behind the car, and it's not just because they like that particular car or they think the graphics are cool, but there's usually a real heartfelt story behind it. And that's what makes customizing, the few that I've done, they were really special to people, because when you find something that has meaning to them, and Derek is really good about this. He's made a couple customs for me. They were real personal because he knew that's exactly what I liked. So I'm hearing you. It's all about the story sometimes with the customs. So Derek, fire away.
Excuse me. Yeah, David, I agree. And yeah, that's really awesome. I'm glad. I'm really happy that we're talking about this topic, because I can't think of a better gratification than making a custom personalized for somebody. A lot of people, they're very specific about what they collect, what they like, which is great. But for somebody to step up to the plate and actually make a car specific for somebody, like exactly the way that they like it, what they envision, and just basically putting a dream together for somebody, I can't think of anything better. I absolutely love giving away customs. It's like my favorite thing to do, or making customs for people. But yeah, the first question I have for you, Jordan, is what inspires you for your new designs? Because I'm going back through your website, and every time I go back through your website, I find something else that I didn't see, and I was like, wow, he makes that. Specifically Porsche, of course. But what inspires you? Is it demand? Is it your personal like preference? Like what catches your eye, and you're like, man, I need to make that decal, or you just want to offer something different that people can't find anywhere else? What's your main motivation?
When I got into the customs, I was started when getting into decals. I started looking around and I saw a bunch of people's designs and stuff on eBay or maybe a website. And I was looking around, and for me, I'm more of the race car type or a nice livery that pops, like Magnus Walker. He has really nice Porsche. RWB, they have really nice stuff that goes on theirs in the details, and I couldn't find that stuff for me personally, or I'd have to reach out to a buddy that makes decals and say, hey, can you make this? And then you're either getting charged to make it, and then you pay for the decal. But for me, I see like a car that's on the internet, and maybe it's a new RWB that was made, or maybe a Porsche livery that hasn't been made yet, or is maybe too difficult. And I think, hey, that would be something different that not a lot of people see. And that's why I kind of got into decals. I wanted to bring more to people than just some of your stuff that you'll see all the time, like major food markets on a car or remakes of stuff that Hot Wheel has made so you can put it on another car. I wanted people to have more varieties to make more real life stuff, like drifting cars, stuff like that, the Porsches and stuff. But that was my main focus. Is I didn't want to bother somebody all the time with, hey, can you make this? Hey, here's a picture of this. So I wanted more stuff. Like me doing customs auctions brought in that part of it. It's like, hey, what if this was made, or what if we had this? And I was like, well, that's a pretty good idea. And then to have it made is another process, another waiting. So I thought, well, I can dabble into something else I've never tried. Started customs, so
Went out to just really emphasize how good a work you do on these decals. And I want to personally thank you as a Porsche enthusiast and Porsche customizer for making really great RWB water slides that you just can't find, because for some reason or another, finding really good quality, good designed RWB water slide decals, it's somewhat tricky. It's really tricky, and you really stepped up to the plate. And I think you have like maybe 5, 6, 7 different color variations, so the possibilities are endless.
yeah.
Well
Huge
done.
shout out to Sam. Sam's a great guy. I met him on Instagram. Him and I connected through Porsches, and slowly us like, hey, we want to make this, I want to make this, and then we collaborated on ideas. I've made him a custom, he's made me customs. I actually got one of his over here. It's in a display. Well, two or three of them. But yeah, he also does amazing work. 713 Diecast on Instagram. Great
He's
guy.
ridiculous. He's ridiculous. He's one of the best as far as I'm concerned.
He taught me a bunch, and I taught him a few things. But he's down to earth, great guy. He's a great guy. One of the really good ones I've met in the community, I'll say.
Yeah. So you get into this hobby, you start making the decals, you've got paint experience, but did you have graphic design experience as well? Is that something you had to teach yourself, or where did the design aspect really come in?
That is a 1000% self-taught. Tons of
Nice.
frustration, aggravation, learning graphic design, finding designs, making vector images. It's scaling the pictures of the car. entirely 100% brand new to me. I've never dabbled into it. Nothing I ever wanted to do. I'm in real life, but my main job, my real job, I'm a mechanic. So this whole computer side is a mechanic with a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I understand it. A lot of people really don't appreciate how tricky learning graphic design is. Like, there's a lot of tutorials and stuff out there, but it really is an art form in and of itself. Just learning how to use tools like Illustrator and Photoshop and the other design tools that are out there, Affinity, and even Canva takes a little bit of learning. But you take that and then you add on to that something that I think raises the blood pressure of literally everybody else in the world, and that's putting decal paper into a printer and hoping to God it comes out okay. So, I want you to speak a little bit to that process, because you do white toner printing too, which is something that's completely another level beyond the at-home printing of decals, because as most people might not know, your printer at home does not print white. And if you want to have a lot of these designs, you have to have either a white backing or the ability to print sections in white so that they stand out. So tell us a little bit more about that process and getting that set up.
So I do want to give credit to Nesto Customs. He's on Instagram. He was the guy I was talking about earlier. I was able to go to him and say, hey, I want this made. And he would have like, hey, man, I got a list of people to get to. But I spoke to him a lot, and he gave me some pointers. Really great guy. He went to graphic school for all of this. But the part about the printer, white toner, it's basically a t-shirt printer. Like if you were a self-sustained home business and you're making t-shirts, it's the same printer. The only thing that you're doing is using different paper. You're buying water slide paper. Mm-hmm. But for people getting into it, I will say that I spent a hefty amount of money learning, and I bought the first printer and went through trial and error numerous times just to find out that there's specs on that printer that don't match up with what you need to do for your decal. So I had to go and purchase a different printer and spend more money. So I will say the first printer I bought was a Uninet iColor 560, and it is a white toner printer for t-shirt businesses. I do not recommend it. That printer, I say it because water transfer paper is about 180 to 230 grams, I think, on weight. The issue I had with the first printer I bought was that printer only held to the capability of printing on 160 gram paper. So I could not get a clear image to lay down with white toner and every single thing else. And I didn't know that. I never looked into that. I just saw like a video and I was like, hey, this can do it. I ended up purchasing a printer way older than that one, an Oki C711WT. And that one has a capability to withstand paper up to, I think, like 260 or 280 grams. So that's why it can lay down the image perfectly with the white toner. So if people are out there looking to get into it, make sure you're not going to find a $300 to $400 printer. It's a white toner printer. People use them for t-shirt businesses, but speculation or specs on a printer definitely matter. The max amount of grams that the printer can hold.
Yeah,
so
there's going to be a comma in that price tag.
Yeah.
Unless you find somebody who is really looking to get money quick or move out of state real quick, they're going to be holding firm onto their price.
Guys, what I'm hearing, it's all the more reason to kind of leave it to the pros, somebody that's got the investment already in it. And with that said, if somebody likes the idea of maybe getting back a little bit of I don't know, recouping some of the cost of putting into this hobby, because if you don't try and make a little bit of money on the side, this can be a pretty expensive hobby. Jordan, do you have one of your custom pieces there available that you could show, and maybe also some of your slide decals. I want to show people when they go to jayscustomgarage.com and they order a set of decals, what do they expect to get? What are they going to get in the mail? And kind of show off maybe a product and what, somebody can turn their regular Hot Wheel into with a little bit of effort.
Yeah, I got one. Actually, let me grab the one I have real quick.
Yeah. No worries.
I actually printed it. There it is. All right, so I just want to say there's two different types of printers. Mine print inverted. So when you get my decals online, you'll see them, like when you get them in the mail, you'll see where there is a white layer on top and you really can't see a vivid, clear color. That means that my image is printed down. So when you apply this into water and then you peel it off and you flip it over, this the side that's on here is what will be laying on the car.
You do or you do not want them to message you and tell you that they're backwards?
Don't. I mean, I've messaged everybody back, but a lot of people, some don't read fine descriptions, which is fine. I message them all back like, hey, apply it in water. Microsol and microset are huge factors when doing customs. I 1,000% believe in it.
Microset is the one that you apply first. That's the one that's basically it's 50-50
Yes.
vinegar and water. You can make your own. It really helps the decals stick on there good. And once that's dry, then you use the microsol, which softens the decal to help it conform over the contours of what you're applying. So microsol actually has a little bit of acetone in it, and that will soften the plastic film, melts it a little bit. So you got to be careful not to use too much, because I've learned that one the hard way. It'll just shrivel up the decal. Yeah.
I've been there.
Little bit of that goes a long way. One drop on your decal and you're done.
To answer your question, I have this one here, which is like a Japanese flower or the flag. It's a huge one for RWBs, and once applied, this one's not bolted, screwed back together yet. This is one that's
heart rate is racing,
being worked on.
That looks so good.
Super 9, baby, Super 9.
This one was a mixture of. I don't think. Oh yeah, that one does have it. Yeah, I still gotta put a wheel on there, but once applied, and then I do 2K clear coat on all of my customs.
Wow. So explain for people who don't know what a 2K clear coat is.
When you do clear coating for a car, like on automotive cars, they're all 2K clear coat. It's a 2-part clear coat that you have to mix together, as compared to going to O'Reilly's or Advanced Auto Parts and getting a can of clear coat. That's 1K, which is a 1-stage spray and be done. 2K clear coat is something that has to be mixed together to bond and then applied and allowed to have drying time. The difference between having 1K clear coat, like out of an aerosol can, is the visibility and the clarity of once it's dry and completed compared to 2K clear coat. So it's a massive difference when you're looking at your work. Like if you have an amazing color that will pop and you put 1K clear coat, it gives it more of like a dull, grainy type of look, compared to if you were to apply 2K clear coat like you would for a real automotive car. It will give it that shine, that pop, and all of the colors will come out, all of the whichever color you would apply. A lot of people like a lot of glitter or shine, but
no, that's good information.
What's your 2K of choice, Jordan?
I use, forgetting the name of it right now. Can we edit that?
Do you airbrush?
Sure.
Do you airbrush or rattle can?
I do airbrush. I don't.
Have you tried any rattle can? Have you tried any rattle can 2Ks?
I have not. I do know that they are just about the same. I hear. I have not tried them recently, because if you went to a paint store, like you're saying, Derek, you can buy a can of 2K clear coat, and I believe you pop the thing on the bottom, and that's what activates the two solvents together, which is what makes the 2K clear coat. And then I want to say it's like 72 hours you have to use the entire can before it hardens. So for me, Like when I do customs auctions, I roughly have about 30 to 35 customs per auction. So I don't use that aerosol can just for the fact that I would have to have everything ready and clear coat basically all 35 cars within roughly 2 days, and then have enough space to have them all sitting there drying, not touching, bumping into each other. And I haven't used it. I want to try it just to maybe help people on the starting outside get started with customs so they don't dive head first into it, spend all this money and realize it's not for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
the rattle can 2K that you're talking about is Spray Max 2K, and that's what I used to use. I decided to purchase a can of Car Rep 2K. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but Sammy actually turned me on to this stuff, and it has no pot life. It has no plunger that you have to push down. You just spray it and go, just like it's a 1K. And I was like, this is too good to be true. I tried it. It works fantastic. You got to
Really?
look into it. Yeah, it's sold on the Tropical Glitz website.
Yeah, I've seen that. I was actually going to
that's
bring
another
that up.
brand I want to try with paint.
Yeah, it's very new. Like it's only been available for like I think the video that I saw on it was from 2021. So it's a relatively new on the market product. But you know, because I've used I restored my 64 Valiant in my garage, so I've used the 2K clear coat spray on smaller parts and stuff, and that has been barrier for that. So obviously, with an airbrush, it makes sense to use a 2K type paint with a hardener, but then you have to deal with the things like lacquer thinner or the specific type of thinner that needs to be used for that type of paint. And that can be very toxic if you don't have an extremely well ventilated paint booth. So again, that's something that if you're going to tread into, I suggest doing lightly. There's a lot of, for the hobbyists getting started, there are a lot of good polyurethane clears that you can get at your local hardware store as something to try out. But, you know, when you're ready to step up to the 2K, first of all, get ready to waste a lot of paint as you're learning, because there's going to be a learning curve to it. I think we've all gone through that in our custom journey. But the key is just patience and persistence. There you go, Derek. Look at that. Nice shine. So
Is that the clear?
This is sprayed with Car Rep 2K.
Yeah. I still have no idea how they do it, how they have an unlimited pot life on a rattle can. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's weird. I thought it was blasphemy, but
So that 2K can is forever? Will never harden in there?
Yeah, there's no pot life, and I still got some in the can, and I've been using it for about a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the drying time that you'd say on it after you've applied it to that car?
I haven't tested it, but on the can it says it's touchable in 30 minutes, but I haven't tried it. But
I wouldn't try that.
It does dry extremely quick.
That's wild.
To go back to you guys' question, the 2K clear coat I use is called Speedo Coat. It is on Amazon. I'm not sure where it lies within the market of like, this is the greatest, this is the worst. Somebody probably 2 years ago told me about it, and I went ahead and purchased it, and I've used it since then. I have wanted to use different clear coats, but my buddy Cosmo was like, hey man, if this one's working, stick with it.
Right.
Instead of trying other stuff. So I use Speedo Coat Clear, 2K Clear Coat. I use medium activator. That's a huge factor. If you're out there getting into customs more and you want to do 2K Clear Coat, medium and fast hardener are way two different levels of activator for your clear coat. It makes a huge difference. Medium is it'll give it a little bit more time to settle in and harden. If you use fast activator and then you live in somewhere like Derek where it's 116 degrees, you could mix your 2K clear coat and it could be hardened within 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And if that's in your airbrush gun, there's almost zero chance of you cleaning that gun out. You might as well throw it away and start all over.
Yeah.
The parts are just so tiny.
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages. Diecast Breakdown is produced in partnership with TWYCE Diecast and Driven Dreams Org on YouTube. Check out their channels in the video description and subscribe for more epic Diecast content.
Hey, this is Larry Wood.
This is Derek from Honest Diecast.
Hey, this is Chad Reed from Round 2.
This is Mike from Gas Labs.
The SRT Jovita Show.
This is Champion DJ K.
This is Mad Vision here.
This is Diecast Dude.
And you're watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
So, Jordan, we've talked about decals, we've talked about the paper, the printers, we've talked about the clear coat, but everything starts before you lay down any paint. Why don't you talk a little bit about the actual casting and the condition that you prefer to start a custom with? Because we were talking before the interview started, and you like to use a chromed casting to give your custom a start. Can you talk about like why you started using those and maybe the benefits when it comes time to lay down some paint or put on some decals? Is there a benefit to having a totally chrome clean casting?
So, out with customs, I was doing, like I said, automotive a couple of years ago, and when I got into customs, I was doing normal paint, and then I saw the RLCs where they have what they call Spectre Flame, which is candy paint with the lowrider community or the car world. And I was thinking, how do I get that kind of shine on something? Then I went and stripped a classic, an RLC, and people lost their mind. Like, hey, man, that car is numbered. Right. I think it was a classic Cord, which nobody cared about. I stripped that and used my 2K clear coat. I mixed it with candy paint, which is a transparent paint that goes into clear coat, which allows you to have the chrome shine through the paint. And I really like the effect of it. And everybody online is huge into RLC cars and the chrome look. So then I got into polishing. I was thinking, if I'm going to run 30 to 35 cars in auction, and my goal was once a month to run an auction, I was sitting in the garage polishing cars
it's a lot of elbow grease.
Hours, what it seemed like. And it's not just the polishing, it's the sanding. I had the Dremel, and I'm going through with little Dremel bit sanding, and you're probably looking at 30, 45 minutes per car polishing it. And you're still not going to get it as close to chrome as you can. You'll never match chrome. That's inevitable. So I had found a chrome guy, reached out to him, and I started sending cars out to him and getting cars chromed, and they'd come back, and they would take me 1,000% less time to just get the car, put the paint on it, throw decals, and they would knock my time down. I'm also a father. I have 3 kids, my girl, our house, my real job. So all of that played into effect on trying to not get kicked out of the hobby while trying to still have fun with it in the community and meeting people. I do have
Can you grab one, Jordan? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
I'll show a difference. Like, this is the Super 9 I showed. Like, this is regular paint with 2K clear coat. And this is a Red Bull UB. And you see the shine here.
Absolutely.
That would be the difference in chrome and regular paint.
Wow. Look at that.
Do you have any plain chrome castings there handy?
I do. I'll show you. I'll show a Porsche just for Derek. So here is minus the hairs.
I mean, Chuck, Derek, like, how important is it to have that clean surface to start with? I mean, if you don't have that, you're never going to have what you want in the end, right?
Especially with a translucent paint or a candy type paint. Like, that's where you really get that depth, especially on a really good metallic. Like, for a lot of the builds that I do that are more weathered, obviously, like, I build weathered builds. So the chroming the body. When I first started, this is funny. I was watching Bare Metal HW videos, and he would polish his bodies. And not only would he polish them, but he would zinc plate them. So he had a tutorial on how to do zinc plating. And so my very early videos, you will see me very silly of me, but I'm going through and polishing these Zamek bodies and then putting them in, zinc plating them, polishing it again, and then painting the whole thing flat black. And it's just like, that was pointless. And yeah, but I learned how to do zinc plating, and that was kind of fun. It's a lot easier than you'd think it would be. It just needs some batteries and a stainless steel knife and a piece of zinc, and you can get it done. But and some hydrochloric acid, there's that too. But anyway, okay, so it's not that simple, but that is one way you can do it. You can do zinc plating, but then you still have to polish like crazy. And if you do zinc plating too long, you end up with like a coral reef building up on your body. So again, that's something. Chrome plating is definitely something that you want to have handled by a professional. But if you're doing a shiny build and you really want it to stand out, then having that chrome base is critical to get that depth. Because that's where your candy paints and stuff get that depth from, is that you're actually looking through the paint at a reflective surface coming back out. And so sometimes you'll get, for certain candy paints, people will plate them in something like a gold or a different shade of chrome to get that more warm look to it underneath.
I will say, for anybody starting out customs or doing them now, and maybe they're in this process, because I've seen it online in these groups, and I try to comment and help these guys. If you're getting into customs or doing customs, or maybe this is just your mindset and you like keeping it that way, I've seen people strip Hot Wheels and then start sanding and polishing them, and then they go ahead and rattle can them or spray them with like a non-translucent color. You 1,000% do not have to polish any car if you're going to paint it with just a normal basic color. Not basic, but if you're going to paint it with like basically a normal, not a non-translucent color, you don't have to polish the casting. It will do nothing for the paint. It won't help that shine through. Inevitably, you're wasting a little bit more time that you don't have to spend on doing it. But I see it a lot of people polishing a casting, and then throw like you say, flat black or black paint on it. And they're like, hey, polished casting, black paint. It's like, why did you polish it?
Right.
You didn't have to.
I can't tell you how many times a lot of people, because I did a Spectre Flame tutorial a couple years ago. I'm still a rattle canner. So
actually, Derek, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that video was one of the videos I looked at when I got into polishing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Before we spoke, I was like, wait, I saw one guy on YouTube. He used this can. I think I got one down here. The candy paint in the can. Yeah, it was your video. Yep. I was like, Duplicolor.
Metal cast. Metal cast for the win.
I just remembered that. I was like, yeah, I saw your video.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad it helped. But yeah, I made that video showing people how they can Spectre Flame cars without an airbrush, and a lot of people were asking me, what kind of primer do you use? And I was like, well, that's the catch, is you don't use a primer. The translucent candy paint just goes on the body, and they're like, well, how is it supposed to hold up and stuff? One, the most important thing is cleaning the body, is making sure that it is absolutely spectacularly clean, that you can lick that body and, well, you can cut that part out. You can lick the car. Yeah, you can lick the car. It's that clean. So going back to what you were saying, David, as far as cleaning and prepping, if you're doing Spectre Flame, whether you get a chrome polish car, whether you hand polish the car, whether you use the polishing wheel, the jewelry polisher that Sammy and I use, it's absolutely critical to get that body absolutely clean. And the best way to do that is usually you can dip it in some acetone and then go back through and use a pick or even an X-Acto knife to clean out the body lines. That's usually what I do. Usually yields pretty good results, but getting that body absolutely clean is essential for any kind of translucent candy paint to stick to it.
The other biggest thing I had when polishing, I don't know if you have this problem, Derek, was that the metal on a Hot Wheel is so soft that trying to find something to clean the casting with without it leaving scratches was almost inevitable. I couldn't figure it out. And I was actually in the garage sweating one day. I had a workout shirt on, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and clean it with this thing. And this is stupid because I've been sweating in here. And It was one of those like Under Armour workout shirts, and I started wiping the car, and I was like, this isn't leaving any scratches on it. That's when I discovered, I was like, oh, I'm using these microfiber towels, and they're leaving scratches after I polish it, and I got to go back through and polish it again. I couldn't figure it out. And I started using one of those, and I was like, okay, well, now it's leaving some less scratches, but more or less it's very time consuming, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful process. If you enjoy the processes of things and taking things and enjoying your time with it, polishing is a beautiful art, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Another thing a lot of people forget to do when they're doing the prep work is watching those mold lines, especially on the cheaper castings where you'll have the casts lined up when they cast the body, and you'll end up with lines on a car, especially once you get the paint off of it, that don't really belong on the car. They're just part of the manufacturing process. And a lot of people will forget to file those down. And that's a process in and of itself, is having a nice little having a round file and having a little flat file that you can get in there and just like lightly. And again, you got to do it very lightly because like you said, the metal is very soft. Get rid of those mold lines and then hit it with cleaner again. I like to use wax and tar remover or wax and grease removers that are used on paint prep for regular cars because they evaporate very quickly, and using that as a cleaning tool. Acetone also works really great, but acetone tends to be a little more toxic if you're in an enclosed area. Another thing that's handy for cleaning your cars that you can always find at Ollie's for $3 a can is brake cleaner, which again is basically acetone in a spray can. And that's a really handy thing. And again, it evaporates so quickly that you can be painting your car within 5-10 minutes of applying that brake cleaner. So I'm curious, Jordan, since you do so many, like what process do you use for stripping your paint?
I was using aircraft stripper, but I could not stand the fact that my nose hairs were singeing every time I opened it. So I use the orange citrus stuff now. It works really great. Mainlines, premiums, you're probably looking at an extra 5 to 10 minutes. That paint's a little bit different than just mainlines. I go ahead and I use that. Typically, I'll throw a casting in there and I'll have to get back to the family or something. So it'll be there in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 24 hours. That was also the biggest difference I'll mention between aircraft stripper will strip your casting quick. But if you forget about your casting and aircraft stripper, it is detrimental because it'll start eating away at the metal life. So I've left one in there for 24 hours and pulled it out, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll strip another one.
This one's
the orange citrus one I've left in there.
Yeah.
I've left the car in there for a week and forgot about it. And I went in there, rinsed it off, and it was perfectly fine. I use that. I typically rinse off with water. Afterwards, I'll dry. I like to use like the brass brushes. And this is for non-chrome castings. This is just for if you're going to get into customizing. I like to use the brass brushes to go around the creases, any areas that might have some residual paint left over or something that didn't come off in your cleaning process. After that, I will say at O'Reilly's, or there you go, Citrus Strip.
There it is, Citrus Strip.
At O'Reilly's or I think Advance, there is a primer can called 2-in-1, and I know there's two different kinds of cans that say 2-in-1, but there's a specific one. It just says 2-in-1. But the one I use, I'll have to share a picture with you guys later after we're done. That specific primer that I use, I've found to be way more effective than some other primers. If you're going to go ahead and do normal paint jobs on cars, it dries very instant. Doesn't take long to sit there and have to go and sand it. I mean, you can prime it, let it sit 5 minutes in the sun and go ahead and start sanding it. Compared to some other ones, you got to wait 30, 45 minutes. And then after that, you go ahead and have if you're going to use rattle can, you would spray it, or if you're using your airbrush. The other process a lot of people ask me about when they start is if you're doing decals, whether you paint and then decal and then clear coat in the end. For me, I've tried both ways. And again, this is just me being nitpicky. I can't see something a certain way and it not bother me. I've found that if you paint a car, put decals on it without clear coat, that you might see some like divots in it, or like some waves, or like something in the casting wasn't right that you couldn't fix. But if you lay your primer, paint, clear coat, and light clear coat, you don't have to go like a final finish. And then once that dries, you apply your water slides to that clear coat, and then go ahead and clear coat again and do your final clear coat. I've had the best result because that decal gets a smooth layer that it gets to lay on compared to laying on a painted casting that doesn't have any protection on it.
It also helps with positioning the decal too, because it's gliding along a smoother surface as well.
It's a huge part.
Yeah. That's
especially with micro
that's
sol and micro set. It'll tear the paint off. Micro sol and micro set.
Yeah, some of these paints, yeah.
Hey Jordan, you make it really affordable to get into customizing. I'm looking at sets right now. You can do headlamps and tail lamps, which are $2. You can do car decals for $4.50. The impact of clean, sharp edges on decals when you're starting out can really keep a guy trying to get better. Because if you start customizing and you're trying to freehand paint everything, you're going to quit because it's going to look like trash. So I love that you have these priced so accessible to everybody. Is there anything that you've got cooking, like for Jay's Custom Garage as a brand, that maybe new decal stuff that's in the works, or stuff that you're kind of looking into, maybe a different direction? Anything we can kind of look forward to?
I'm constantly coming up with new designs, trying to do stuff that's different. I know a lot of people start selling water slides or getting into it, and it's, hey, I'll copy this guy's thing and I'll sell it and make money. I'm trying to come up with new stuff that's different than what other people have. I do try to price them a little bit below what other people would have them at, just because I've seen people selling sets of headlights and taillights together, and they're wanting $6.99.
Yeah.
And some stuff on the website is a little bit different on pricing compared to eBay due to their fees, and that's nothing I can fix. That's why I'm trying to push for the website, because eBay is they're insane. But I figured that might be a loophole. As far as the website, I'm working on another design logo, so t-shirts and some other stuff maybe people can have. But as far as that, I thought about maybe selling wheels and stuff, maybe finding a distributor later, finding like an all-in-one stop place that you can go to, and it's not just like, hey, I'm just coming here for decals and I got to go over to this guy's website and get stuff for screws and wheels. And
right.
I would like to, but I also, at the end of the day, I'm a one man operation. So
sure. Yeah.
I would love to, but it's a slow process. I've never done anything like this. It's new to me. I've been doing the custom side of it, and that's, to some people it may be hard. For me, that part's done. It's easy. But the whole website thing, the designing stuff, and I want to say the designing stuff has been more of a learning curve than customs, I'll say, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, it's a great start, man. Great
Yeah.
start. The website looks good.
I want people to keep that in mind, that the people that do these sites and offer these services, they're usually doing this as something that is not their day job. Like they have bills to pay, and this is not what is necessarily paying the bills. This is helping fund the hobby of theirs. So please be patient when buying from some of these folks, because they're working as hard as they can, and this is something they're doing in their free time because they love this hobby and because they love helping other people build these really cool customs. So it's a something that I always feel good patronizing sites like Jordan's, because I know that I'm helping out somebody else who loves doing what I do and collecting what I collect, and helping them feel like they can continue this hobby, continue trying new things and growing themselves. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about this hobby, is that there is this side of it that is very DIY and entrepreneurial, I wish all of my friends and people that we've interviewed that do this sort of thing could afford to just do this full time, because I'm sure it's a lot more fun than most day jobs out there. But there's only so many $4.50 decals you can sell in a day right now. So if you're thinking about doing this, please go check out his site. We'll link to it in the description, doobly-doo things on both the audio and video podcasts. Check them out. The prices are very reasonable. And Jordan, again, tell people where they can find you, follow you, all that good stuff.
So it's Jay's Custom _ Garage. That's on Instagram. I do have a Facebook page that I'm trying to start pushing more toward that. You will find most of my updates in Worldwide Diecast page on Facebook, just because that's where I've basically been focusing on. I did start in another group called Diecast Nerds. I'll give a shout out to them, Brandon James and Raz and Tyler and Art, a bunch of those guys, amazing admins over there. Cosmo for Worldwide Diecast and his wife Nicole. They're also running Diamond Protector, which that's an amazing company for your protectors. But yeah, Jay's Custom Garage, that's basically on any platform. One of them might have an underscore after custom, but I might venture into YouTube. I don't know. You guys are pretty convincing on it, but it's just another thing to add to my plate. There's so much on my plate lately. I just had another baby, so
it sounds like you're busy enough. And congratulations on the new baby. That's exciting.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So again, we'll link to all of that stuff below.
I just want to say thanks for everything you do for the community. I think we really needed another reliable source for water slides.
Yep.
I'm excited to see where, what designs you come up with and what other products you offer. I think the wheel idea is an excellent idea. I'll just throw this out there. Sakura, Carlomo, Scaleworks, please. And I have a couple ideas. I have a couple ideas for water slides. I'll message you after this. I think a lot of people would find some value in there, in those ones that I'm going to send you. But I just want to say thank you for everything you do, and thanks for coming on here and interviewing with us. And
absolutely,
head over to Jay's Custom Garage, and don't forget, I'm going to plug this. You can put this in if you want, Chuck. We got a promo code HD101, Honest Diecast and Jay's Custom Garage collaboration. So make sure to head over there and get your water slide fix.
Nice.
Appreciate you guys.
Oh, awesome.
I just want to show, we were talking before where I started. Just keep in mind I painted for 5 years before this, but this is the first one that I ever made. It's got plastic wheels. You don't see much of a shine to it. Just some motivation for people. If you're going to get into customs, keep your first custom. Don't ever sell it. That's just, I feel like it's bad luck once you go from there. I'll show a different one, and this is where I'm at now. So it's all growing. It's all learning. I want
30 days, right? Progress.
I wish, but I just want motivation for people. If you're struggling with something, just there's so many videos out there. I mean, look, no headlights, no tail lights. This one comes with it, but you got tail lights there. I got my own personal license plate, but I like to give people motivation. It's just, you can always start somewhere, and then you can see where you're coming in the end. And there's still stuff I'm learning. 713 Diecast Sam, he taught me a bunch of the stancing stuff. I still struggle with that some. I'm trying to get more into it. And it's just, like, this is another one, the Turbo RSR.
Look at that.
I tried to make a little, it's me still fixing it. The wheels aren't done. I tried to make a different variation of Toy Fair. But if you guys are getting into it, I mean, it's a ton of fun. Just have fun with it. I know it's money. Also with my website, I'll mention that I like to, depending on the order, I always throw in extra decals just for you guys to try out. Always. I don't care. I try to range it off of what they've ordered. Like, hey, I ordered more Gasser, or hey, I ordered more Porsche. I might throw a Honda in there, or like something else. Like, hey, give this a shot, see if you'll like it. I do that for the website people. So just to show some appreciation, let you guys try something different. So try to do that for the community so they can have fun with customizing.
Well said, Jordan.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to keep in mind, because a lot of people, I've done some custom videos too, and a lot of people will go, well, I could never do that, or I would never be able to do what you do. And I'm like, well, I wasn't able to do what I do because before these videos, I built dozens and dozens of models before that I didn't think were worth showing off, and that I learned from, and I practiced and I refined myself. And I have one of my first weathered builds, because that's the thing I do is weathered builds. I have my first one, and it does not look very good, but it was the motivation I needed to really, like, that sparked the excitement in me. I loved the idea of being able to build something that looked like it was made of metal, even though it was made of plastic. And find the thing that you like to bring alive, and then focus on that. Whether it's, you want to do flip-flop paint builds, or you want to do candy builds, or you want to do shiny or weathered or whatever, start with something that makes you happy. Start with the kind of car that you wish existed out there in the world, and start making Saturn. That and visualize that Saturn that you want in the world, David. You keep visualizing that Saturn, and it will happen. But yeah, like just try it, get started. And a lot of people are afraid to post their first builds in the Facebook groups. I encourage it. I think it's a great thing to show off, even if you think it's not that good, because it's a very supportive hobby, and you'll probably get more compliments than you expect, and you'll probably get some really good pointers as well, especially if you're keeping an open mind and going, hey, well, here's what I was trying to do, here's what it looks like, I'm open to suggestions. And 99% of the time, you'll get some really constructive feedback and really positive encouragement, because that's 99% of the time. I can't guarantee that it will always be super nice, but in the communities that I've posted in, I very rarely see anybody talking down to another customizer or saying, well, that's no good. And you get your snobs in the group that say, oh, well, you just did a wheel swap, or you just did some decals. That's not a custom. And it is a custom. These cars are designed to sit on shelves and go down racetracks. So anything you do beyond that is custom, because that's not what it was originally designed to do. So don't listen to somebody who says wheel swaps aren't customs, and don't listen to somebody that says a tampo removal is not a custom. It absolutely is. You took something and you made something out of something that was not designed to be made into something else. If you followed any of that, that's a great thing, and it's a start. And on your next build, try one thing different, or try to do one thing a little better, and then move on to the next one. And 400 builds later, you'll end up with something like what Jordan has. I mean, I've only built. I think I'm on build number 75. I mean, there's been more builds than that, but I number my builds by project, and some of the projects have had more than one cars. One of them had like 50 cars in it, but you keep track of your progress. Keep that first one. I love that piece of advice. Keep your first custom, because that will always show you where you came from. There you go, David.
Oh, the Datsun.
Love it. So, well, Jordan, this has been a delight. I always love having customizer guests on. We'll make sure everybody goes and visits your links. And again, thank you for being here. And thank you, watchers, listeners, wherever you are, for making it to the end of another episode of Diecast Breakdown. We are grateful for those of you who stick around for the long haul. It's not very many of you. The average view time on these videos is about 15 minutes. And that's about normal for a YouTube video. Yeah, believe it or not. On these videos. So if you've made it to the end, make sure you leave a comment and say, hey, I made it to the end, because you're a real one. So we appreciate you. And of course, we appreciate the patrons that make this show go. Again, you can click the little join button, or you can visit diecastbreakdown.com, and that'll take you to our Patreon page, and you can check out our merch. We have merch, as you will see David and I modeling if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, go check out our YouTube channel. And if you are watching us on YouTube, go check out our audio feed on your favorite podcast app. That's a nice way to listen to our soothing, dulcet tones while you're cruising on your daily commute. Or if you want to look our baby blues in the eyes, you can venture over to the YouTube channel. And as always, we want to thank you for coming along with us for the ride. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thanks for listening to Diecast Breakdown. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend to listen in. Find Diecast Breakdown on your favorite social media platforms or visit diecastmedianetwork.com to learn more about this and our other projects. Diecast Breakdown is a presentation of Flying Valiant and the Diecast Media Network.